Good evening, it's April 20th, 6 o'clock. Regular meeting of the Windsor Heights City Council, roll call.
Susan Skerries.
Here.
Joseph Jones.
Here.
Fletcher Berry.
Here.
Lauren Campbell.
Here.
Teresa Harms.
My name, allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll the agenda. Roll call.
Susan Skerries.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Fletcher Berry.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
3A1. Resolution number 2026-33. Resolution approving funding request for Urbandale and Windsor Heights.
Second.
Roll call.
Susan Skerries.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Fletcher Berry. Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
Discussion. AJ.
Just to add that there is a handout in the Ember, and we'd like to take a look at that. Talk through the funding proposal, but we'll just break it out individually, so that you may use itself if they desire.
So we talked about, earlier as part of our budget proposal, and this consistent with the funding we had recommended earlier.
I was gonna ask, I didn't go back and look to see it, but it is the same amount that we had said in the first place.
Yes.
I was like, there's gotta be some
is.
catch or something
No,
in this.
It's exactly the same. It just needed to be pulled out and the next one has the rest of them on it.
This is just the level that the city's membership is at, so. That's what's included, there's nothing specific from here, it's just. Invest a little bit.
Typically, the outside organization fundings are just incorporated into the fiscal year budget, in both the map this service, so that there's option for any discussion on the partnership item, which was left unresolved as. Councilman Fletcher refused himself from the votes on check.
Oh, is there any public comment on this? Okay. For a second, please, Teresa.
Didn't I say,
Yeah.
did you say something or did I say?
Roll call.
Susan Skerries.
Yes.
Joseph Jones. Fletcher, I'm sorry. Abstain. Yep. Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
Yes.
All right, any consideration on the same item? Okay.
Second.
Further discussion? Roll call.
Susan Skerries.
Yes.
Joseph Jones. Fletcher Berry. Lauren Campbell.
Yeah.
Teresa Harms.
So it's not itemized. But public hearing on considering resolution number 2026-27, a resolution approving FY 27 outside organization funding request.
Move to open the public hearing.
Second.
Roll call.
Susan Skerries.
Yes.
Joseph Jones. Fletcher Berry.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell. Teresa Harms.
The question then becomes, the Greater Des Moines Partnership, $1,500 is what was originally discussed, but then there was a little bit of not sure, maybe we shouldn't, maybe we should. So that is one I wanted to bring to your attention. If someone would like to change that, we can. I can adjust this resolution and we can approve the resolution with the changes. If someone would like that Greater Des Moines Partnership amount to be different.
I think where I left the conversation last is that was part of our journalism. Commitment. We would say the 1,500.
Maybe somebody will get online stuff.
Thank you.
Was
this part of an investor benefit? Is it just something that, hey, we're showing that we're, bought in, this is?
I think it's good fun, though. I think the last time there was a question where I listed on the website.
There's at least one spot that looks like you didn't get us listed, but I think that was because, there was stuff in that. It said you say listed organizations funding them at a certain dollar. They are intending to come up from general council later this year. We're looking at probably the fall date, but. It'll be then.
I think my concern was what is, and this was, part of what I brought up, what are we shipping for it? What's the value? Because if we're already a member, because we're a member of Ember, then what's the value outside of that total? And I don't know that I get that.
Yeah, I think I did speak with the agreement membership about the presents and our funding model, and I think we desire to have all cities be an investor at some level, which they're open to conversation about. Like our interaction points with them are limited because they do not typically assist with projects with small income. If they're looking at businesses that are bringing outside investment or outside employment or exporting EMT services, if we have those opportunities for that. They do host various activities such as the sea trip, and so take conversation and dialogue in the development in the region. But if we start going to a specific project that they have facilitated for Windsor Heights,
So I get the regionalism, I get those sorts of things, but I also challenge with. We get that as being part of this chamber. And there itself, so I'm trying to figure out why it's that for me, I feel like it's. So.
If we are going to pay in separately, then I would like to see us place somewhere else, so the directory. Maybe I didn't look through the whole website thorough enough, but all I could find was that we're listed as a member, and that's through our membership with our chamber.
Do we know how many cities are part of the partnership with different investment bankers?
I didn't comprehensively look through, but by the vast majority of cities within the core of the metro are members at some financial level. There's different models for how to determine how much to fund. And some of them don't know how much land is available to development. As you get to the outskirts, they near extra communities, I think, percent of the profit streams, but those in the immediate metro don't have on understood us.
Sometimes I think you have to make points, maybe not being a member to help them understand and recognize why it's important to look at how they might be able to then add value to us as a member.
Our DC rates aren't reduced by being an investor, are they?
Yeah, I think that was part of the conversation last time.
You get it for being.
Well, I wanted to make sure that that wasn't something that we got any type of reduction on our cost there.
I asked them that question and I didn't answer. I found listed with the discount as a urban chamber number.
I still think the city itself benefits from the economic development work the partnership does overall. And I think 1,500 is minimal amount of money for whatever the economic drivers are for any businesses to meet needs before shopping food and possibly choosing food. I don't see that one as my stuff.
Real quick, guys, I just had a comment that you've been somewhat difficult to hear online. If you could just check your mics and make sure that they're on, I would appreciate it.
Looking at the website, I mean. I don't see a city that is not listed for 2026. As a investor, although I don't know if that means last year, because how do you already have the list out for this year? If we're budgeting for,
FY 27.
right, so. But if, because we invested last year, right?
Yes.
Couldn't we get on this one?
Well, because we didn't invest over 2,500, that's the lowest that they put on that list. And they don't list out the Windsor Heights Chamber powered by Urbandale as separate and under chambers.
That makes sense.
But are we still considered, do they still count us as a chamber as their? So we are not considered a chamber, we're just under Urbandale's chamber, so they took away one chamber membership out of their. What they have, basically said all the time, we've got, I don't know, 33 chambers, now they're down to 32. And then adding,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, it's just listed as Urbandale Chamber. It's not Urbandale / or powered by, it's just Urbandale.
$1,500. I can go either way. I can see Teresa's side. Like what are we getting? But I can also see your side that this is, for the better good regionalization, what they could bring in potentially for us. I do wish that they're helped the smaller businesses a little bit more than what they do. You have to make over $1 million. You have to have so many, so there are some issues that I personally have just because of they're geared more towards bigger business, and then the chambers are built more for the smaller. And
Dinner dispatch from Leanne did go through one of the programs. I don't know what one of those targets was one. So. These are what some. Benefits of small businesses do through them, at least.
Can we just leave it and then make a decision after they come and present?
can we keep it as like a budget in our budget as doing this
It
and
will
then?
be in the budget for this resolution. We would just have to make it 0, and then we could do a separate resolution to go ahead and fund them at a later time. It would still be budgeted, it just wouldn't be allocated, if that makes sense. This resolution allocates the dollars to these specific organizations. So if you wanted, we could change it to 0 and then vote on this resolution and then add them at a later time in this separate resolution.
Did we get them to come in earlier? I know they probably have
Actually not,
things
because
planned out. but-
Mondays are city council days and taking the routes. All the cities, they said, something coming up, you hop on there and let them know that maybe earlier in the year would be better for us. That's where we're at right now is,
I should look at the rest, I mean, I look at these and I look at like. The value of what we're getting from engagement. With like what they're doing to build and support our community. And I think I can say that about all the rest of them. And that's where it's struggling. But
And I appreciate that. I don't want us to get. I don't want us to replicate other places saying we exactly direct benefit for direct funding. Because I don't believe that's really our philosophy. How we see things. And we're talking about these things that are kind of. Russell, and then
This-
you want to thumb Russell 2 out of 3 and.
Arm wrestle.
No, I hear you, and I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm just wondering if we can get their attention, to help them understand that it would be appropriate for us to be recognized instead of, again, just this, the redheaded stepchild in this space. And when our budget dollars are tight, we have to make tough decisions sometimes, and I can say that 50 times tonight. So I just, that's what I get and appreciate the regionalism, but at some point in time, there's gotta be some value. I mean, I have to just vote no and everybody else can vote for it. I mean, you can do whatever you want, but
Well, either way, I think we need to have some conversations with leadership about our expectations and
Agreed.
things that we, then we want to continue doing those.
I'm not saying we need our own floating box, it's just like, and other friends invited, but
They've added some smaller communities like Stewart, I think was the most recent one. Not saying that us and Stewart are in the same boat, but in terms of the metro, I think they might look at us and Stewart in a similar light as compared to Waukee and Johnson and Baird.
we'll have that sweet ethanol money.
Yeah, so I think,
For Microsoft.
yeah, the 1,500 isn't a lot, but I think they should maybe adjust how they can support smaller cities.
But if we just be quiet and pay our money and don't, and even if you have a conversation and pay your money, you know what I mean? Then
Okay,
you're passive.
okay, so. We can remove this from this resolution, right?
Correct. You amend the resolution.
And just vote on what's left. And then you can, if you want, you can vote on allocating it, keeping it in the budget, but allocating it at a later time. Okay, right? They can do that.
Yes.
What about that? Everybody all right?
Works. Mhm.
And withhold it, I guess,
Until you make the decision anytime in FY27 that you wanted to spend the money for really whatever fell within the type of organizations.
So are we still on public hearing now?
Yes.
All right.
I guess everyone here's going to move.
Move to close public hearing.
Second.
Susan Skiris,
Yes.
Joseph Jones, Fletcher Berry, Lauren Campbell, Teresa Harms.
I will move to amend the resolution to renew the Greater White Partnership at this time, that approve the rest in the.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll.
Susan Skiris, Joseph Jones, Fletcher Berry, Lauren Campbell, Teresa Harms.
No, we're good. The motion already amended the resolution, so just whenever the council decides they want to bring it back, we'll bring it back.
Well, I want to do some sort of formality for that. Action.
Well, that you want to timeline, so that you like, I'm going to bring it back, okay, council, when do we want to?
After their presentation.
When they're scheduled the time.
scheduled for November 7th.
Guess we'll decide if we're
Mhm.
priority or anything.
Okay.
That'll tell us a lot, won't it? Who's gonna put that on the sticky note in November?
I can put it in, I'll make sure that, I'll make sure to break it up. At my own.
All right, 3A3, public hearing on resolution 2628, a resolution approving and adopting the annual city of the Windsor Heights operating budget for FY 26-27.
Second?
Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Fletcher Berry.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
Any other comments? Dr. Lyon?
And if, unless you wanted me to talk about the actual levy change, maybe we can talk about that.
Strange, but,
We are showing a 9-cent increase in the city levy rate to fund ongoing operations with a continued focus on infrastructure improvements. There is also a 5-cent reduction to the Windsor Heights residents' DART levy rate. This levy is separate from the above city's levy, and DART services within Windsor Heights are planned to continue to operate at or above the 2025 service levels. The city of Windsor Heights levy rate will be 14.30351 per $1,000 of taxable valuation. And the reduction, we did actually do budget reductions in part-time and seasonal staffing, in contracted planning, contracted landscaping and cleaning services. We did software service and subscription reductions, and then adjustments to employee benefits. We did actually do some additional investments by expanding fire and EMS staffing during overnight hours and funding a comprehensive plan update. Super general. Does anybody have any questions?
For the note, you make this 4 cents difference.
4 cents difference from last year.
I don't know, you know, put one now.
It's public comment, public comment. Anything online?
Unless you were here last time for if not, the budget, right? No, for you, no, but, oh,
Yeah.
Me, I was concerned about whether they were planning on raising local taxes. Because I've done with no hands and far to what forms that I qualify for, but I had too much money invested to make the Iowa. What do you call it? Not the homeowner's credit, which I filed once, the one you have to file every year. And if you made so much taxable income, you're not allowed to make the extra annual credit. So anything that could lower taxes and illegal, I would be willing to hear about. But I got that letter about the meeting earlier this month that was gonna talk about taxes, and apparently it started a few minutes early, and I got here at 6 and they were already done, so I was wondering what they said then.
so that was the public hearing for the budget that we had, that was, first part was at our last meeting. It started at 6, but no one had any public comments, like 6:01, it was, we closed the public session, the public hearing, so if you wanted to say anything, now would be the opportunity about our budget. So we're talking about raising the property tax 5 cents per $1,000 values, 4 cents, sorry.
Like, I live in a place with 24 units because it's a condominium building. And we're already having hope for occasional flooding because it used to be a creek bed. And the garages are in higher ground than the units. So and then it ices over in winter. So we're dealing with occasional flooding and snow melt and having to use the parking lot and occasionally fix the roof and have things go up and pay off loans. So we're trying to watch our budget. And I was worried that might have to, I don't know how much my home is worth because I haven't. When you get a condo instead of an apartment, you have to take care of the repairs and something else. so I'm trying to watch my budget. That was just one thing about how much that might. It's, Windsor was right across from the Lutheran church. And so we're just watching them. Should we have any more?
We have, post on for the last week.
I think at the last meeting, the city administrator, offered that you could stop by City Hall and they can help run the numbers on what that impact will look like.
So I City Hall, do I need to call again?
We're generally in 8 to 4:30. I'd like to speak to you directly though, so if we could maybe find a time, you tell me time right now, I put my calendar, or we could change phone numbers, or they change the schedule your contact information from last time.
We'll see. I had this week's schedule.
But yes, generally you can find me or at least call it there at 8 to 4:30.
Okay, well, it's too much of an impact, because what the cost of it and going up. It seems like every year. The insurance, your own personal insurance cost goes up, and you have to insure this and that. You pray that your car doesn't break down. Make things last as long as they can. Then they say, well, we need to fix this again, and then you're a homeowner because you own. It's a homeowner association that is. And so they're still fixing something that was broken. I mean, they said like the third time, and we're still waiting to find out. It's the second something to take care of it, but. I just thought I'd put my 2 cents in, and the computer was saying anything.
Well, thank you for sharing. I mean, we get it. Everybody is, I think everybody around here, around the diocese is in similar situations. So really appreciate your bringing your concerns, and we've been trying to be very conservative in our approach, particularly with the budget and the challenges, you know, that the state legislature are working on to change as well. So, yeah, so, but unfortunately, as you know, and noted, that the costs for everything are increasing, and the cost to manage and run the city. So we worked very diligently to identify what we could reduce. And unfortunately, we still need to have a small increase of the 4 cents. So,
Little extras, like I think they're going to, you know, the corner of 70th and University, they're going to paint. It used to be Blue 66 before it changed hands 12 times, and they're talking about maybe painting that wall that's facing 66th Street into a mural, and I just wondered, would that money be spent somewhere else on the budget?
I agree, it can be confusing when we're having to raise taxes, but then we're also, we have some investments that we're making in the city. A lot of the mural project is funded through a grant that we got from Bravo. Which with some matching funds from the city that came from, I believe, the Keep Windsor Heights Beautiful organization donated with the intent that those had to only be used for beautification. So I don't want you to think that we're raising taxes in order to put some MARTA.
I was saying it's nice to know that this thing's already been funded and that thing is not, we need to direct. I did want to mention it, it's nothing to do with you, but the parking spaces along, what is it called, that place now that it's a meal service?
Dinner dispatch.
Yeah, and they still, in the past, and they still sometimes do it, they park larger, longer cars that stick out into, and in order to turn north onto 66th from University, you have to go into the turn lane coming the other direction and watch out for cars that are going the right way, because you have to go the wrong way around the longer cars that are parked. I don't think they have enough room for some of these larger cars that park there even temporarily. So you have to watch for pedestrians as well, of course, but you're not able to turn around the corner and just go around the corner into the turn lane and go the wrong way for a University and then go around that corner and head out. So
They do have signs that say compact cars only.
yeah,
Up on the wall, you just have to
but I don't think
read
people
the
are
signs.
reading that, and I didn't know if that meant just that one end closest to University or not, but every so often I'm coming home from church or Hy-Vee, and I have to make sure that I go the wrong way just for a few seconds in order to get around the car sticking out on the end. I didn't want to get anybody in trouble, but is a little scary there. You have to make sure there's no one coming from the opposite direction, coming the right direction, because we have to go the wrong direction sometimes to get around the cars.
We do have an estimate for you, on what the proposed, the property tax increase will cost.
Yeah.
So without knowing the specifics of how much your unit is worth, but if it was worth $200,000, your taxes would go up approximately $8 a year.
That would be the taxable
Not
valuation.
bad
assessed
spot.
value.
I'm just like, to make sure. Okay. But I know it wasn't, it didn't cost $200,000.
Where were we?
We're public.
Hearing.
hearing. Move to close the public hearing.
Second,
Well,
Susan Skiris,
Yes.
Joseph Jones, Fletcher Berry, Lauren Campbell,
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
Okay. Approving the fiscal year 2026-2027 Windsor Heights operating budget.
Move to approve.
second,
Further discussion?
So I was gonna say, thanks, I know we've had some pretty discussions about this and just really appreciate the staff's efforts to help identify reductions within the budget and anything else that we can be doing to reduce ongoing expenditures and look to see where we can tighten our belt, because I think we're gonna have to continue to do that over the course of the next couple of years, in particular. And so as we look to that, just be mindful, and just because something's budgeted, if it's not needed, if it's not, it doesn't mean that you have to spend it. And I say that to my kids all the time, that just because you got money in your pocket doesn't mean you have to go spend it. So I just would challenge us to continue to be mindful of that as we go through this next fiscal year.
Thanks for the reminder, because I keep doing it. I keep saying it, but.
Very good.
All right, how's the planning board come along with creative revenue streams?
they're very creative.
Okay. We have fun creative ways to cut it.
We had a brand new one, and it
Okay.
was turned City Hall into a reality show. So
Yeah.
probably all the whole thing. We'd have to do the whole thing.
Bring it on.
All right. Roll
people
call.
might pay us just to be
Mhm.
quiet.
Susan Skiris,
Yes.
Joseph Jones, Fletcher Berry,
Yeah.
Lauren Campbell, Teresa Harms.
And 4, public forums, the time set aside for comments from the public on topics of city business of note on the agenda. From action may be taken, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and keep your comments no more than 5 minutes. Public comments. An agenda, I know there's an error, typographical error on by Judy's resolution, in full, so the exception is she is nothing. Sorry.
Did we fix the,
Yeah,
Other
it has
res-
been correct.
Okay.
Those have been correct in the actual attachments to the packet, so if you like, you just be with having to ask it, it's not part of the agenda per se, it's an attachment. So that's it.
With regard all that, motion for the full. Consent agenda then? Yeah. Roll call.
Susan Skiris,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Fletcher Berry,
Yeah.
Lauren Campbell, Teresa Harms.
A, duration of resolution 2026-31, a resolution approving a collective bargaining agreement with IA local 5274.
second,
AJ.
Yes, just a quick refresher, so this is a proposed 2-year agreement with firefighters union. We do 1 year's worth of wages, so this is year 27, wage sheets there are attached, paramedics, MTs, the paid EMTs. Will be a wage reopener, fiscal year 28, we negotiate just the wage portion of the contract in the second year. Generally speaking, there's not a lot of large changes in this update contract. The deferred compensation does move from a city contribution to a city match of the employee contribution. And Article 19 does have language on health insurance premiums. Those do have sufficient bandwidth to make changes for what's currently in the budget this year. Council has the discretion to move those to 15% stipulated in the contract if desired. Beyond that, Chief had 4 items listed in there that were fairly minor in nature related to scheduling. Fairly minor issues. Have to answer my questions on those, but that it was the summary of the agreement. It's all in line with what was presented to council last of the exec session.
Any further discussion?
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones, Fletcher Berry, Lauren Campbell,
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
6B, consideration of resolution 2026-32, a resolution approving a collective bargaining agreement between this local 238. AJ.
This is the collective bargaining agreement with the police union. So it's been proposed a 3-year agreement. Would have a wage reopener for years 2 and 3. First year would be a cross the board with 3.25% wage increase. Which keep the wage in line with neighboring communities. Does include a few changes to benefits as part of the contract. There's the deferred compensation change, same as the fire department union. Also allow for movement of short disability to be 50% employee, 50% employer paid benefit. There's some minor changes to uniform allowances from 750 to 800, an annual physical fitness incentive from 100 to 150, and new hires may be placed at the pay scale relevant that reflects their qualifications and experience. There's also some adjustments to performance evaluation related to current practice, which is to provide those on a regular basis. Annual performance evaluations are not used to reflect their salary. So we need to use feedback, use the improvements there. And it would also move the educational tuition incentive to line up with the employee handbook. It does increase a couple of the tuition amounts for reimbursement. And also expand the payback period 4 months for the current union contract to 12 months. One other change to callbacks, those that would be regarding uniform fittings or mental health visits, they want to be scheduled well in advance. Quick, subject to 2-hour callback requirements of maybe 2 hours to get uniform fitting and mental health visit. All other provisions in here are the same. In longevity, health insurance, which is very similar to fire department language, 15%. Employee contribution cap up to a certain amount. And then change to educational payouts, holidays, rules, except to reflect a number of understandings that have happened since the last union. Just to note, we did discuss some shifts to the number of holidays, potentially add in paternity leave policy that's in the handbook. We was in favor of foregoing that maternity leave policy and sticking with the holidays. So maternity and paternity leave is not included within this. Other than that, we removed any references related back to the old sick leave policies. We've been on PTO policy for a number of years now. There's no employees that are still subject to that. So all those references are struck. And that should reflect what council saw and discussed at the last meeting or something.
Discussion? Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Fletcher Berry.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
C, discuss Police Services Supplemental 28E agreement.
Okay.
I would like to, and we can either do a discussion or I would like to table this. Just so that we could. Take this to a work session. So that we could have more information provided to us instead of trying to read through this all. Since there's a lot of information with. Not a whole lot of time to really read through it, and I will be the first to admit I didn't understand the graphs on all that was here. And I just think that if we're going to be spending or looking at spending that amount of money, we should at least come into this with a complete education and know that we were responsible with, what we were doing as we reviewed this.
I don't think we talked about, concept of a little bit about what it would look like, answered some of the questions about, vehicles and, some of the details on the types of calls that currently our mutual aid responds to, and then what that would look like in the future model, but, not, actually look at that. So I think I would. No, that's good. I was just, thinking about it somewhere. I think it was more like the concept and talking through the pros and cons and kind of the expense with the open position, what it would look like to be fully staffed, some of the concerns with like that. We've got 2 folks that have drill weekends, so it's the same weekend. And what that does for their staffing morale. So that we can talk more conceptually.
I don't have any opposition to pushing back the conversation. I would just like to know that for the record, you do still have 1 position that is authorized, 13th sworn officer position that is not currently listed. One point of feedback that we're looking for on this is if we move forward with an agreement like this in the future, not closing it tonight, just kind of continuing to progress those conversations with Fly, is whether council would like to relist that 13th position or hold it vacant potentially as we go through this year trial to see if we can adequately staff and operate at a 12 sworn officer position. So the only concern from a time sensitivity standpoint is that while we do not have this agreement in place, if we were to have an officer leave or 2 officers leave, that is a potential big setback in small departments. And if there's any consensus on whether we want to just go ahead and list that position now, that's great. We can do that. It's included in a fiscal year 27 budget, but we're looking for an opportunity to potentially save some dollars while also enhancing officer safety and providing flexibility of schedules and not billing it for fiscal year 27. But we just want to push this back a couple of weeks and have a work session conversation. That's fine. I'm sensitive to the possibility that, we could get another officer that's injured or leave, and we might be running then at 11-person departments like we have in the past, where you're mandating a lot of overtime for staff. That's just something that I'm supposed to try to avoid. It's part of the intent of this agreement to try to avoid operating with 1 extensive individual. So just that 1 caveat out there, but certainly if there's more time needed to adjust this or additional information requested, we can push that conversation back to sometime.
I would also like to see other schedules. If we're hiring the 13th officer, then none of these schedules really show that 13th officer. So what are the other schedules available to us that are out there? Because there's a wide range of 3 on, 2 off, 2 on, 2 off,
The schedule-
4, 2.
Schedules in contract was ratified that for 3 years. That schedule was set in there by the officers in the union, so we're kind of stuck for 3 years with that 4 10-hour day schedule. I mean, we've talked, I'm okay with tabling it. We just brought this up as a cost saving measure. We're already paying it, whether it's overtime or into the contract. I did a rough estimate, 77% of my budget for overtime was spent for just shift coverage through 16 pay periods of this fiscal year. And if that continues the way that it is, that's $84,000 out of 110 that's just going to covering shifts when we dip below that third person. So, again, we're actually fine right at this moment, but like AJ said, I got 2 that are in the military, and one was gonna get ready to get shipped off, literally, she's in the Navy. But that got kind of canceled, or it's kind of calmed down a little bit, but if they both go, we're down 2 more positions for 6 months to a year, so this was just a suggestion. It was just actually
Can you
something.
come up here, because I'm sure the people online probably can't hear.
Does this include, and I mean, how much overtime if we would have pulled the mine detective back and put him back in patrol,
Picking one person to come back over here still does not solve my problem. It's a person that we are funding. There's always someone there. It's just shifting the money consistently to have that supplemental person. The detectives can still get sick, can still take leave. And that person his schedule would be not by the contract, his schedule is the most flexible. And that's nowhere to stick someone there to do that. We're covering more shifts with that graph in there, and we're shifting the supervisors to cover from 6 a.m. all the way down to 5. It's almost 12 hours of the meaty portion of the day, to kind of balance this 12 person out. So, this was just an idea. This was nothing to green light a formal 2080. This was just something that we've been working on with Clive, with the supervisors. Aaron, I don't think you've even had a chance to look at it yet to see.
I have.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of questions to answer. With Ian from Westcom being gone, he's sort of our stats guy for CAD, so I can't drill down specifically to tell you how that would look like, but it was just a trial run to see what it would be. That way I could schedule officers for 10-hour shifts. For their mental wellness, they don't want to work 12s, and they like our schedule, which they've told me repeatedly since I've been here, that was their main thing, is they don't want me to touch the schedule when I first started here. So
Anyway, we're getting a little into
Yeah,
the real
sorry.
discussion. It's fine. We can push this
We can
conversation
push it back.
back. We just wanted to make sure everybody was aware that we do have that current position that is authorized, not listed, while we wait for some further feedback on that. So it's just potentially a couple of weeks, and that's fine, but we just wanted to make sure that everything is right.
Okay, so I'm confused then, if this is a discussion item, then why weren't we presented a proposal? Why aren't we getting a presentation about this then? If this was,
Well, you can
If you
point
want-
to, we were going to present you the staff report and summarize the MOU that's exceptional. But we can do that in a work session if that's the preference.
okay, I'm confused, but, all right, let's have a work session. It's clear that there's some energy around this, so let's have a work session so we can talk a little bit about it.
When's our next council meeting?
May 4th.
You wanna do it, after the May 4th, or do you wanna have a special?
I was just trying to remember what,
I don't know if Steve was able to get full into your report. We kind of jumped right into it with Councilman comments, so anything additionally you want to say towards it?
We're happy to walk through it today, and if we want to continue the conversation after you've kind of heard it from us and seen the staff report, that might help facilitate a better conversation at a work session.
No, you're doing what you said you want me to do.
if we're gonna have the work session, let's have the work session. So are we gonna do it on the fourth? Or are we gonna have a special meeting? Council, you tell me what you want to do. Tell us what you want to do.
For the fourth.
I can
Right,
afford-
as well. All right, so we will have a work session after the fourth. So there was a motion, well, I guess it was just a discussion, right?
Yeah, the motion and second should be withdrawn.
Yep.
Vote to withdraw.
Oh, 6D. Discussion item. FY 27 health related benefits. Okay.
So the conversation here tonight was about employee health benefits, fiscal year 27. My goal here is to get some council feedback on the proposal that I put together on it. And give our employees an opportunity to have their benefits committee meeting, either later this week or early next week. And then we're going to take whatever council feedback might have, along with any ideas or thoughts employees might have, then have at our next May 4th meeting, a resolution for employee benefits for fiscal year 27, so that we're prepared, ready to have our meetings for the performance, which happens towards the end. So just a high level, what we have included in the fiscal year 27 budget is an increase in employee contributions this current year, which is about $18,000 to $57,000. There's several different ways to kind of accomplish that budget goal, but I've got a couple of charts here show one option that would achieve that budget objective. So today in fiscal year 26, employees contributes approximately 7% of their healthcare costs, whether that's an employee plan or a family plan. And there's no employee contribution for dental, vision, or short-term disability. These are the ones that I've highlighted at least. Fiscal year 27, what I've proposed is the employee contribution rate that would be the same as it is today still for non-union, Teamster, firefighter union. There would be a slight increase in single healthcare employee contribution rate at 6.9%, 7.5%. Family rate would go up from 7% to 7.9%. Would be establishing dental and vision employee contribution rates as well. And then short-term disability, potentially move to a 50% employee, 50% employer cost. So you volunteer benefits that staff members need to sign up for. You need to maintain a minimum of 10 staff members on that program. You have to maintain a current cost structure. That cost structure does depend on age and demographic information as well. I have the final chart below there, what the costs of those current plans are. So there's a nominal increase to healthcare next year. We discussed with our provider a small reduction in the overall benefits of dental, and that keeps that increase at about 1.3%, and about a 2% increase on vision. And we did go back into the history of this a little bit, just to try to refresh our memories of where we have been and how we ended up on our current plan. And our broker did share with us that at the time that we entered our current healthcare plan, the risk profile of the city was very low. I think they advised us that we probably have the best overall premium rates of any other city of comparable size. So that $408 cost for a single employee, that's the cost of insure on a monthly basis. That is essentially half of what it was 5 years ago before we switched. Particularly if you're on the family side, it's the single family, not the single months, a little bit less than the and when the city changed over to its current provider, that resulted in a lot of shifts, I think, in coverage and costs. But essentially what we've had is a 7% rate thereabout since then. What we look for from council for a longer term would be some direction on what you'd like to see from a policy objective for our healthcare, dental, vision, other health-related benefits, so that we can streamline process moving forward, kind of stair step up towards any goals if necessary. Or have a defined percentage that we can adjust based off what those premium increases might be here and thereafter. Of course, other changes that could be made as far as the healthcare plan itself. Municipal healthcare plans are very generous. Ours is different. We only have one plan. Some cities have a high deductible plan that they will then provide some money for an HSA. Cities just have a PPO plan, which has slightly lower out-of-pocket maximums. But at the end of the day, they're all very good plans, whereas ours is no exception. But we do have a nice cost structure relative to some other cities, and I sent out to everybody, some of those other plans and cost percentages, around that trip. Again, the union contracts have some different rules, included in the contract. They have been afforded, since I believe 2022 or so, when we switched over to our new healthcare provider, the same rate structure as the non-union. Council has the discretion to change that and follow that union contract with desired. What I've included in the table here is just a matching rate structure for all staff members on a health, dental, vision, and short-term disability. So again, a lot of different ways to cut the cake. What I looked at here was just how to try to accomplish what's currently in the fiscal year 27, but looking for some direction tonight on whether there's a different way that you'd like to try to slice this or allocate those expenses. And or if there's longer term goals that you'd like to try to achieve from a fixed percentage for employee contributions going forward over the course of a few years. The only other asterisks I put out there for you is just that our healthcare plan has a single family, our dental and our vision as a single, a employee plus spouse, or an employee plus kids, or a family plan. So I just have two rate structures in here, employee, and then what I call employee plus. To try to simplify it, we certainly could break that out into 4 separate employee contribution rates, but that's how I have it structured in that table too. So again, just looking for some feedback tonight on whether we're in the right direction, if we'd like to be, so we have that employee benefits committee meeting. And bring something back, potentially made for after you submit the
So this, I've dug into this a little bit, and we are, as you've already heard, we have a very rich plan. And as long as I've been here, this has been an issue that I've tried to dig in and understand and been through some of the changes. And I think that I don't think I know factually. So we were at a point in time when I first came on to council that we offered a richer benefit plan because our salaries were maybe a little less than what the rest of the metro had, right? And so then when we had a leadership change in our administrator, that shifted and changed, and the council went a different direction, which was to enhance the salaries. So now we have rich benefit and salaries at the level of the rest of the metro. So we staff is getting the best of both worlds right now, and we're at this point and at this impasse of as costs continue to increase, and we hear from our residents that everybody is feeling that we have to look for ways to be responsible stewards of taxpayer dollars. So having said that, I look at the plan, I look at the $316,000 that we are covering 31 people, 14 staff and 17 family members, or family components of. It's a lot. I mean, yes, I understand we have a decent rate, but we also have a very rich plan from the perspective of the deductibles that, as I understand, we're buying down, right, Adam?
That's correct. The city self funds a buy down of Something that max going out of pocket, as I understand it. We have discretion on how much we'd like to do that. I think most cities in this plan do that to some extent, but it varies in cities.
Right, so right now, it's $1,500 for an individual and $3,500, right, for family. I can't find anything like that on the market right now in the private sector, but just to kind of give some perspective. So I would like for us to have, and I'm willing to do the work to do it, but come with like a 2 to 3 year plan on how we can right size this ship, right? And really affordability for our residents and figuring out how do we provide a little bit more balance to this. Because it's costing us a lot. It's not only costing us a lot of money, but when you start looking at how we compare to, average public sector rates, our staff is currently paying, I think if I look at the thing, it's just under 7% for the employee plan, and then just under 8% for the family plan. And if you take averages, so for single, generally in the public sector, 10 to 20% is what you would see for rates, and then for family, it's 15 to 30%. And so we are woefully under those rates, right? And have been consistently for a long time. And so I would like to figure out how do we ensure a fair and balanced approach, not to hit it to everybody all at once. Because I think we've heard, and I think it's in the AJ's outline here, is that there's a 50% increase in what the staff pay, but that's also it's a accumulation of different plans. So it's not 50% increase in their health specifically. So we're looking at an increase of about $18,000 to $20,000 this next year for increase in healthcare costs for the plan. And so I think we have to, that's a big chunk of change. So how do we propose? So I would like for I'll work with AJ and the budget committee, or however you want, Rochelle, whatever, to outline a proposal to bring back to the May 4th meeting. So that way staff have we can look at it, give feet, decide what we want to do, but then staff can be planned for that, as well as we can plan for it in our budget as well. I don't know if that's helpful information, but.
Sorry, are you saying for FY20, the recommended recommendations that you'll bring up for FY27, are you thinking of 28 and beyond?
It'll be for 27, 28, 29.
I agree with that. I think we need to have a plan, and we need to let our employees know, ahead of time, this is what's going to happen, just because of the budget situation that we're in. I mean, we're looking at some issues.
So thinking, I don't doubt when you say that our pay is in line with other cities that at one point our benefits were the sweet spot. If we could look at also some data that backs up. I think that there's been a lot of changes since, we changed some of our salary stuff. I don't think we have a salary study.
Current salary study is about 18, 17 months old.
Okay. Because like putting ourselves in the shoes of our city staff, I think these are great benefit prices. I would like that benefit that was priced personally. But looking at, the $36 a month increase for a family plan, for example, that's seems like it's pretty reasonable for the year ahead. And also knowing the expense. I remember in 22 when we changed. I don't think we changed the carrier. I don't think we just changed who we're buying it through, and there's a drastic reduction in the cost for both from the city perspective and the employee perspective. And so with those low rates, how can we make sure that we're not driving away employees, that we're not having employees who, you know, an offer for $1 more an hour does sound like a better deal than they're getting in Windsor Heights, but also be good stewards of the taxpayer dollars.
We have the ability to go up to 15%, correct, per the union contracts?
Yes, there are some maximums associated with that. I have current premium rates, other than maybe somebody that has the family plan plus a family dental plus a family vision, might be getting very close to that 15%, but essentially it's.
So I mean, technically, they know that it could go up to 15%. It's not like we're going from 1% to 15% in a year. I mean, they signed the contract that said you could go up to 15%, right?
How many of our employees are under the contract? Is that how?
Yes, 5 FP and 11 P.
Not down the union room?
Yeah,
9.
So
Other percentages that council is comfortable with. Or there's something you want brought up.
Can you repeat your question?
Percentages like, are there percentages that council is comfortable with? As far as employee contributions.
Like long term?
Yeah, like, you
What's the
know,
one end up?
like right now, we're at 7% for employee and and it's going to go up to about 7.5 to 7.9 for what AJ is recommending. And you can go up to 15% for family, which is what I frankly think is what it should work its way up to. And, you know, should a single employee be 10%? Is that what it should be worked up to, you know, by FY29? Is that what council would like to see happen? Are those fair numbers over the next 2 fiscal years that, you know, eventually become the reality?
I don't want to put more work on people, but can we show like a few different options there, you know, not just 10% and 15% by 29, but like what these numbers would look like as we go up so that we can kind of look at things and it's easier for me to look at it like in this chart like this that I can see. And it's easier for me to understand and say, okay, is that if in my budget, would that be reasonable, you know, or am I expecting a little bit too much out of our staffing?
You wanted to see like the hypothetical
Yeah,
employee
yeah.
scenario.
Kind of like something like this, only like if we're trying to get to 10% by fiscal year 29 for single, what would that look like? And then if we want to get up to 15% or for family, or if we want to do only up to 12% for family, or, you know, give us a few little options so that we can see how much money we, in the hypothetical person, how much money we could save as we go up.
And then are we, maybe I missed it, are we continuing with the paying employees for waiving benefit elections? Or taking some money?
My plan was to bring back the other benefits, and I know that one follows in suit with this to a certain extent, but other benefits for conversation. Hopefully implement any changes council would like to do by July 1st, sync up with the union contracts, we'll switch over to a few changes as well. So if you want to have it all together, you can. It just felt like a lot to digest in the various moving code pieces, and maybe it's best to see what you want to do with healthcare and then react based off of that. The rest of it, you tell me what you'd like to proceed with that.
From my perspective, that one piece seems like it's part of the benefits bucket that comes out of. So I think it would make sense to look at when we're looking at potentially saving the city money. I think having that as part of the conversation, but get that there's other benefits that we still need to determine before.
I just don't want to piecemeal, because I feel like that's what we've done, since I've been on council, we've fixed this, and then we've gone over here and fixed this, but have forgotten what we did over here, and then this section got pretty rich, and then we're like, oh, wait, now we have to go back to this section, and then we forgot what so like, the puzzle pieces just aren't always fitting, and I don't think that we really have the big picture on our benefits, our healthcare, everything. And I think that that is something that we need to look at collectively, so that we don't just piecemeal everything together. I mean, duct tape works great, but I don't think we should use duct tape on benefits. So,
The only caveat I would get offer is that open enrollment will be coming at us at the end of May, so you want to have.
At the middle of May.
We have to be ready for it by the middle of May, so that we're ready at the end of May for it to happen, so. We really do need at least a fiscal year 27 decision by May 4th to get ourselves prepared for that.
Because it has to go to our broker.
Beyond that, then that's really part of our conversation with Desire, but.
Yeah, I just think it's frustrating for me because this is not a new conversation. And here we are sitting the 12th hour having this conversation again. And so I think it was frustration for me, but, and to your question about the numbers, personally, I think we should be more in the middle. I think we should be, 15% for single and, somewhere in the 25% range for family. And you start looking at those are in the middle range for what I found. And then, and it's still less than even what private sector is. So.
and you're talking non-union, right? On that.
Yes. So. And then that also then, then it right sizes this question of whether or not you're paying people to not take your health plan, which is ridiculous, first of all. But anyways, that's just like. Retention, recruitment, those are obviously, we want to keep those things, employee morale concerns, all of those sorts of things are important, and that's why I think we need to do it in stages so people can be planful. I think there's a way to do it, and Rug's attacking me, but I think we can. I think we can do it and bring some options and do that and have it whomever to do that. But I just think we need to be intentional and we need to be planful.
I do have a question, and maybe this is something you can easily answer. So the union information, so Article 12 of the FD union requires short-term disability. So, we just approved that, but could we do the 50-50 or like how? What I got confused by that, and maybe I just need clarification to.
It is different language than what was in the PD. And what it essentially requires is that there is a plan, and that plan covers any short-term disability after all PTO has been exhausted. So there's several qualifiers on the language that you can. I think you could take the act of not having a short-term disability policy and just compensate that employee after PTO has been exhausted up until that 90-day threshold in which long-term disability kicks in and meet that obligation of people. But that would be something to look at a little bit further once if we're going to move in the direction of a 50-50 short-term disability policy, because that's great on the gray space and not on the other side. If you potentially be in a position, you might need to provide some compensation to an employee to get the short-term disability in the fire department and didn't purchase the short-term disability.
Is that common? Is that common?
It was, at the time that we were negotiating the union language, it was already in there. We weren't talking about short-term disability. It felt like it would have been very 11-hour change to throw that in at that point. So once there's a policy decision on short-term disability, that would be something we'll want to look at again in 2 years when that contract is up. But that was existing language. That was already.
So it's since it says requires short-term disability plan, since we provide it, even if that has to be 50-50, is that still requires a short-term disability? Like, am I reading too much into that, or? Because I mean, we're still providing it, they just have to pay a little bit to it, right?
Or potentially for those 5 employees, we have to take over.
I mean, we don't have to answer this now, it's just a question that I think, like, it confused me, I read it multiple times and I still didn't understand it. Not that that really means a whole lot, but I was like, what is going on here and why am I not able to understand this better? It
No.
shouldn't be this hard.
When we were even trying to find a disability plan, a short-term disability plan, that came up. So this is not just you. It is confusing.
Here is the actual language just for reference. The city shall establish a short-term disability program for employees who have applied for and are eligible for long-term disability and do not have enough PTO to cover the 90-day waiting period. In situations such as this, the employee will be required to exhaust his or her PTO. If the employee does not have enough paid leave to cover the waiting period, the city will continue to pay the employee his or her salary until the 90-day waiting period is complete. Employees eligible for the short-term disability benefit upon experiencing condition that triggers the application of long-term disability. The employer will be then paying up to the short-term disability upon eligible applications for long-term benefit. Very long explanation. Again, we have not paid out any short-term disability in 5+ years, so it would be an uncommon situation contingent on how much PTO they had, but it is a good question and something I think we'll have to work through. Don't know what to expect.
Okay, well. Glad my reading comprehension wasn't wrong.
No, it's not.
So you need an answer by the mid-poll of May. So this needs to be done by May 4th council meeting, right?
Yes, please. Please. No later than the 15th of May. They need it. They need it by then. Our broker needs it by then.
All right.
May 4th would be awesome.
So it sounds like someone at the end of the dais is volunteering to come up with some ideas. Okay.
If you have some recommendations, so.
And we'll work with staff. All right. Any further discussion on that discussion item? Mine is an email at council that the railroad filed notice of abandonment for employing. So exciting time, but we'll find out something in the next decade. But hey,
If we're lucky.
the process has started. Fun.
Yes, so, I'm trying to think about the last time, I think we have math, right?
I was there for the first 30 minutes.
Okay, so, we had a conversation with Central Iowa Waterworks, and they talked, at length about the water conservation initiative last year, rebranding the lawn watering ban to water conservation. I'm fully expecting that to be an issue again this next year. The nitrate removal system has been running for most of the winter. And that has taken away from ability to kind of stockpile the clean water for blending and mixing that they otherwise put into our wells and all the both from our aquifers and all those things. So we're already going to be coming into the season where we're expecting again higher nitrates in our water with a water deficit or lower levels than we've had in the past. So just recognizing that, so really encouraging people to be smart and cognizant. If you would do water your lawn, how do you do that? So I'm hoping, I know Adam's not here to miss tonight, but having some conversation that we can include and utilize in our newsletter. You can pass that along, AJ, on how and when to water, and if it's watering, I think they're gonna have a proposal and do some communications like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, right, or whatever. So just being real cognizant of the fact that you don't need to water every day, that you need to think about how you do water and use those water resources, just to kind of give perspective. During last year, when they did the water, the lawn water conservation practices, we cut by more than 50% our water usage rates. And it's just a matter of the fact of our nitrate removal system at Fluor, which is by the largest nitrate removal system and the country's largest, looking at figuring out how to expand that, but that costs, we need like $2 billion to expand to meet our growing community population water needs here. And that's would be a big increase to, the ratepayers, all of us. And so how do we do that? And they talked a lot about, every new project that is going in to meet our ongoing increase in water demand and needs is nitrate. I don't remember what she said, what's the word she used, but like, is nitrate responsive. So there'll be some sort of process there to remove nitrates out of the expansion of each one of those nitrate facilities, or excuse me, each one of those water. So there's a new expansion going on Sabreville. There's a Grimes facility. So kind of all of those are in play now. Potentially an expansion at Fluor Drive. So just recognizing that as the water demand goes up, and then we'll have to be communicating with residents about the need to do some water conservation practices. And then in addition to that, like they talked about splash pads and those sorts of things. And then as of right now, they're not going to limit water usage on golf courses or like splash pads, because they're a community focal point, whether some communities use them for summer lunch programs, or they're also instead of somebody going and turning on a sprinkler in their backyard illegally, it gives people respite and reprieve. So the idea that unless there's a larger problem, that they'll continue to allow those. So just kind of thinking about our splash pad, that we would be able to utilize that unless it becomes a larger demand issue that we can't facilitate. So just recognizing that that's going to be, I think, an ongoing problem, and for us, at least in the foreseeable future, and one that we need to recognize. So and secondarily, the House has filed an amendment to the Senate's property tax bill. And there's a public hearing tomorrow at 9 a.m. on that piece of legislation. Maybe the House may or may not take up the bill this week, but just to kind of give you an idea, so it would triple the homestead tax credit into a larger exemption. So while maintaining those exemptions for like seniors and people with disabilities, veterans, those sorts of things. So I think it's a $5,000 credit right now, so it moves to $15,000 credit under this bill. It would use some state funding. That's gonna magically appear in a spot.
And
to
magically
lower the
disappear?
school property tax levy. To give some more, immediate relief, gradually shift the save fund dollars towards property tax relief over time. So that's interesting, 'cause that's largely been just school. And then adding limits on the TIF districts, and so creating incentives for us, local governments to do, and then as well creating incentives for us to do consolidated insurance services. So and the governor had outlined that $10 billion bucket of change for that. So that's included in this amendment as well. So it does maintain the 2% cap on local government growth. And then which is different than the Senate's, which is a little bit of a soft cap, which allowed it to change with inflation, but the House and the governor, it's a 2% cap. So that could create a lot of issues. The Senate's proposal also included let's see, adjustments to the rollback, particularly on like multifamily or rental property, those sorts of things. And then it allowed for additional local revenue, local option sales tax increases as well. And so that is not included in the House amendment. Neither is the Senate's proposal to increase the gas tax. And then increasing the assessments on multifamily or rental incomes is also not in the House plan. So just to kind of give you a flavor of what I don't know if they'll get it done this session or not, but I think that there's definitely a will to want to do that. So tomorrow's the 100th day of session, but they will not adjourn. So that's all I got. Sorry, that was kind of long-winded.
I attended DART on the 7th, special events meeting on the 17th, birthday to strike on Saturday.
Attended a meeting with Icon staff and city staff to discuss the signage, which I think I will talk on more later. And a wake up of Windsor Heights at Peterson Painting, and you should all join us for next month's edition at Public Works on May 14th. And the Icon board meeting to get the updates on the various projects around the metro. We're gonna have an opportunity to tour one of the sites, but due to all the rain that we've had, water levels are unsafe, so. And then I'll be completing the Iowa League Cities and Lake program this week.
We did the first round of DART CEO interviews last week. The second round tomorrow. We will follow that with a special commission meeting and a special executive committee meeting, and there'll be lots of DARTs. Lots of new things here. But hopefully we'll know more at the end of the day tomorrow. Yeah.
Fun times for you guys.
We need Barney to smoke.
We can all look up.
There might be.
Good plan.
I'll get the Photoshop.
I don't think it's
Purple and yellow.
Yeah.
Purple smoke means you've chosen as CEO. Yellow means so you gotta vote.
I'll make sure the chair knows that. Very good.
Yes.
Oh.
Attended Wake Up Windsor Heights at Peterson Painting with Andy, AJ and Fletcher. Great opportunity to connect with local stakeholders. Last Friday morning, I attended Women in Government meeting. We received a legislative briefing from Teresa and 3 other lobbyists. Primary takeaway was the unpredictability of the current legislative session. Like how I put that? That was very nice of me. Even seasoned professionals, aka lobbyists, are navigating a high degree of uncertainty as we approach the final weeks of the year. It was great to sit around and talk to everyone there at Catch Des Moines. I attended the Chamber Bash to promote our upcoming Earth Day event. Metro Waste at last Wednesday's Metro Waste board meeting. We reviewed we did lots of things, but we reviewed the details of the pending battery bill and discussed the necessary next steps. Hopefully Teresa can give me an update after the meeting on where we are. Special Events Committee met this past Friday to touch base on everything coming up. Between Earth Day, movie in the park in May, and Touch a Truck, we're officially going crazy with our special events. Let's see, Earth Day is this Saturday. The Firefighters Association Easter egg hunt starts at noon. It's nice that Chief pulled some strings and got it moved from 9 a.m. to noon. I was a little bit worried about that one and how that was going to work, but so we're hoping to pull the crowd from the free event, the egg hunt, into our event at Earth Day. So 2 for the price of 1 being free, but movie in the park, May 1st, we'll kick things off just a few days after Earth Day with the Princess Diaries, sponsored by the Firefighters Association. Touch a Truck, good news here. We've already filled up half of our volunteer spots. Then if you're planning to attend Earth Day or the movie, please let me know. Love to have everybody involved and we'll find a task for everyone. Admittedly, I have not looked at the movie sign up genius in a little bit. So this Wednesday, I'll be at a Catch Des Moines meeting. May 1st, I'm heading to the food bank for women fighting hunger. And then finally, just wanted to say thank you to the City Hall staff for their help getting our events posted and visible. And a big thanks to Nate for staying on top of the food trucks and making sure everyone is permitted and get ready to go. It really takes a village to get these events off the ground, and I really appreciate their support. So thank you.
Touch on a study we did on procedure rates.
Yeah, so we just did we were looking at $1 million in unutilized stormwater funds. So we were looking at CD rates. So I contacted 3 just to get a kind of a feel. And what we came back with was our current checking, as of the writing of this memo, was 3.55. Current rate is 3.61. So it has increased, which is phenomenal. That's our liquid checking. And so then the actual CD rates I found, the highest was 3.60 from Midwest One Bank. And so we will not be moving our funds. But the point is just that I'm going to keep looking and making sure that where we're at is giving us the best rates. So that's in a nutshell.
As been very indicated, we've done a conversation with ICON, go back to when we approved the water access ICON grant to them. We initially had incorporated in that project the sign. ICON advised that it was probably going to be a grant opportunity to construct a sign, so we pulled that out of the project. We got kind of the first dibs, I guess, on this grant program. We reached out to us a couple of weeks ago. Knowing that we were under construction and that there's probably some cost savings if our contractors taking some of this work while they're doing their other paving and grading out there. So I believe we're approved for the grant. We've applied for it. We've received that indication that we'll receive the funds. And because we have a fairly quick turnaround with them planning on pouring concrete, and did it happen today? I don't even know. I didn't make it that far in the park.
73rd Street started today, so I was pretty.
So there may or may not be concrete down at the water access. But we did talk through a couple of options to get this sign installed. We got a little area along the trail, and you look at page 205 of the packet, you'll see what the recommendation is. Have a 12 by 16, 12 by 6 foot pad, 12 by 9 things. 12 by 9 pad goes into the water access. We put the sign there. The contractor was able to get some affordable limestone bench next to that, ADA accessible, and should be able to sign. The city's only had to pay for the concrete and the bench. Or ICON will reimburse the cost of the footing and the actual sign itself. So there's been a lot of work going into the actual sign designs. We've talked about a couple different ones that they're likely going to have available to us. One being a very large regional sign, another one being so a smaller sign, but with sort of the medallion that you see on the trails, like the bicycle trails around the metro. And then you got a skinnied up one, which would be basically the same, that rusty metal look to it, with one side about Icon and sort of the regional project, and the other side more focused on city, and the local aspects. I think we talked about that being the best fit for our water access, eventually, back when the project was still being discussed, and these sign designs were not fully fleshed out. But that's kind of where we wound up again, when we spoke weeks ago. And so that's our recommendation, to go ahead and move forward with this small concrete pad. The smaller sign design, which we have some color coding with Windsor Heights and some local brand messaging on there. But due to the timing, the concrete's already in the works, but the council has strong feelings about content of the sign, or which sign design you look at. We may still be limited change on that, but otherwise it should be fairly straightforward. And ultimately, we see for about $2,000, of which we experienced with the project, some change in stone and planting material costs. So we should be well implemented on the project as it's progressing today. Let's go to block there, but any questions?
So the 3,000, so basically we're out $2,000 with all in, I mean, not the project itself. I'm talking like the sign, the limestone bench, that type of thing. That's what we're
The
out.
sign will cost us approximately $2,000. We don't have a limestone bench yet. We have one that's sitting in front of Public Works. That's a regular bench we can use if they can't get the discount one, as they source some other, but yeah, worst case, about 2,000.
There's also been some reduction in the cost of the project itself that more than offsets the cost of this addition of the icon sign. I know it was pulled out just separate because there was a lot of unknowns with the development of the signs. So project wise, from a budget standpoint, we're below what was initially projected to be the actual cost.
Anything else? Any comments on 73rd, which began today?
73rd began today. I will say I'll give a little rah-rah speech, but this is the remaining phase for 73rd Street. It's been a long, tedious project with, one already 2 construction seasons. We as city staff are eager for this thing to start. I know the contractor is eager to get in there and perform the work, so we're starting out the year on a good foot, with the anticipation that we're finally starting to see the end of this project come to fruition. We all know what it's like on the new part of 73rd Street. So for you guys and for these types of projects, yes, they're a tremendous inconvenience, but the ultimate goal is the improvement to that infrastructure that we rely on every single day. So the residents that we've talked to on 73rd Street in this particular phase specifically, we're working with them sometimes on accommodation and some other things, but if you guys have conversations or if people have concerns, please send them our way, or to myself. And we'll gladly kind of work with them if needs do come up. So sidestep a little bit to 68th Street, more progress is happening on that road, with some paving happening tomorrow. So I don't want to say yay construction, but it's nice to see some of those projects start back up and get to the finish line. So bear with us as we get through it. We'll see how things go and we can get wrapped up. So thank you. I know I kind of took some time there.
So move.
Susan Scaries, Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Fletcher Berry,
Yeah.
Lauren Campbell,
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
Yes.